Hello my dear friends, Irene here, and today I want to talk about books that I've read in February. Actually I was in the reading slump. Beside that I managed to end 6 books and most of them were great. So let's start talking about them. First book that I've read was a mystery. Let's start with mysteries. It was Why Didn't They Ask Evans by Agatha Christie. I gave it 5 stars. It was a wonderful experience. It is adventurous, light-hearted book about Bobby Jones, who was playing golf on the cliff near the end of the sea, and he heard a scream or some unusual sound. She ran there and saw a man who just fell from the cliff. His golf companion ran for the help, and Bobby, he descended down the cliff to see to this man. Man was dying and his last words were, "Why didn't they ask Evans?" And then he died. And after that, some unusual things began to happen to Bobby, and he and his friend Frankie, like Bobby is not poor but more poor than not young man, and Frankie is very rich girl, lives nearby, but they were childhood friends, and now they are like young, careless and very fun, and they decided to solve this mystery, and so here the adventures began. I really think this is one of the most fun Agatha Christie. I do believe this is a very good place to start with Agatha Christie if you like something adventurous, mischievous and more fast-paced. I try to give this book to my daughter, but I think she is a little bit, tiny bit too young for this, maybe in a few years. So yeah, 5 stars, highly recommend. I can't say this is my favorite sort of mysteries, it's maybe too light-hearted for me, but it was a very fun read. So yeah, Why Didn't They Ask Evans by Agatha Christie, 5 stars. Talking about Agatha Christie, I've read Marple, 12 New Mysteries by Agatha Christie. I made a reading vlog reading this book, so go check this out. I can give it 3.5, 4 stars. Let's do 4. There were a lot of short stories that I really liked, but some of them were missed for me, and a few of them felt almost like cheating, because definitely authors haven't, it felt like they wrote a short story and then they put inside it Miss Marple just to get to this book. My favorite were ones from Ruth Ware, Kate Moss, Val McDermid, Ellie Griffiths and Lee Bardugo. These were like 5 stars for me. Lots of them gave me a new perspective, not only for Miss Marple, but also for mystery genre, and this book is like gave me a lot of thoughts about the future of mystery genre, about where we're heading, and this is interesting. It was like an interesting meta experience. Overall, I feel hope, and I feel that there are some authors that I want to read more of, contemporary authors, mystery authors. So yeah, I can't say this is like my favorite book of the year or something, but it was a very interesting experience for a mystery lover. So here we go, 4 stars, Marple by 12 different authors. Last mystery that I want to talk about is Bury Your Dead by Louise Penny. This is 6th from the series, from Inspector Armand Gamache series. In this one we have 3 cases, more fast-paced and more gory and thrillerish than others Louise Penny, more dark also. So first of all, we have new Inspector Gamache case. It takes place in Old Quebec City in the Literary and Historical Society Library. So it's about English-speaking people versus French-speaking people, and prejudices and hidden currents in their relationships. And Inspector Mangamash, being inside all of it, he was interested in some historical events, and then the murder happened in there, and so he was involved in solving this murder, and that's interesting. It was good. I like all the characters in there. I was really interested in this. I lived here the whole life, but I'm still a stranger. I like these things. Maybe because of my immigrant experience, it was interesting to read about this. Also, there is an continuation of the previous book, which was called The Brutal Telling. So Inspector Mangamash asked Inspector Jean-Guy Beauvoir to come to Three Pines and revisit the murder of Hermit, a man who lived in the cabin in the woods. I don't want to spoil, but in previous books, one of Three Pines villagers were taken for his murder, and his companions and his friends believe that he was not the man who killed the hermit. So Jean-Guy Beauvoir here is doing his job, trying to understand who else could do it. It was an interesting experience because if you read these books, Jean-Guy Beauvoir, he is the one who do not like people in Three Pines. He is not that artistic, he is very down to earth, he finds all these people strange and maybe a little bit crazy, and he being alone there and needing, it was a trust exercise for him, and he managed to go over his beliefs and to solve this mystery. And the third one, which was the most heartbreaking, and there was some significant event between this and previous books that changed the life of whole homicide. And the life of our main protagonists, like Inspector Mangamash and Inspector Jean-Guy Beauvoir, for forever. Like, they are changed men after that thing that happened. And we do not know much about this at the beginning of the book, and it unravels, they tell more about their memories about it up to the end of the book. And at the end, all three mysteries are, talk to us. Like, some of them were resolved, some of them we know now all the things that happened at the beginning. That thing that happened was very brutal. It was very heartbreaking, and we feel the pain of Inspector Mangamash, physically. It is a great book, and actually it was masterfully done. It was different from others. It's not that psychologically deep, but it's more fast-paced, and there is this urgent fear that we feel because of things that we do not know. And we understand something really bad happened, but we don't know what, and this a shadow in this book. I think it was masterfully done. The suspense at the end was over the top. That's a great book. I gave it 5 stars. It's not my favorite from the series, but I appreciate how good it was written. Brilliant one. I've listened to one interview with Louise Penny, and she told that this year interview, she told that you can start with every book in the series because she wrote them, they're independent to each other. So there is a quick recap at the beginning or in the middle about things that you need to know to understand the mystery in the book. Though I don't think that it's a good idea to start with this book, because first it's like a continuation of previous book, and second, the pace is very different from others. So though I appreciate it and I liked it, I don't think it's a good place to start. So yeah, 5 stars. Then I've read something rather unusual for me. This is a sci-fi novel. This is A Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. This is my second Emily St. John Mandel. I've read Station 11, and it was one of my favorite books of that time. I really like the type of writing we have in her books. I really like her author voice. I like the fragility of her world and the deepness of her characters. There is usually a huge cast of characters, and she really has a way to show us deep inside their thoughts and their character with only a few lines. And in a few pages she do things that other authors can write books and books about. This is a book with a lots of timelines, because it is this is a book about time travel. You do not understand it at the beginning, because at the beginning there are things from the past that goes up to the future, and in the future the time travel begin, and then we go back to the past. There are a few timelines: 1912, 2020, and this is about COVID-19 pandemic, 2203, 2401, and then we go all over the place. My favorite storyline was 2003. I believe that Emily St. John Mandel wrote herself in this novel. In 2203, there is an author who previously wrote a book about pandemic, as Emily St. John Mandel wrote Station 11 about pandemic. And then when the pandemic began, she's like an expert. She knows everything about pandemics, because first of her research, and second because for a long time she was the only author on the market who wrote about pandemics. And now everyone wants to talk to her. I mean, even before that, the pandemic slowly was started, but it's not a pandemic for that time. And she's on this book tour, and she's giving speeches about pandemics historically, in different historical times, and how pandemics changed the style of living and changed the society. And then you can feel that something is going on, the pandemic is unraveling. And she has this fear because she knows about pandemics more than other people, but also she has this shame about this fear, because she thinks that she's just know too much and she's overthinking stuff. If you wanted to read something about a pandemic, and I want to say I wanted to read something about a pandemic, I am waiting for lots of deep books about pandemic, because it was such a huge period of time, and maybe still is. This is a great book about pandemic. It is thoughtful, it is from unexpected point of view, but it's not only a book about pandemic, it's a book about time, it's a book about fate, and about what worth be saving at the end of the world and what is not, and about lots of other things. Emily St. John Mandel is one of my favorite authors, that's for sure. So highly recommend this one. And yeah, 5 stars from me. And this one can be one of my favorite books of the year, that's for sure. Historical fiction that I've read, Taylor Jenkins Reid, Carrie, Soto is back. I gave it 4 stars. It may be more like 3.5 than 4. Taylor Jenkins Reid for me is a woman's fiction. It's not a romance novel. It's a novel about women and about women's life. I actually prefer this type of historical fiction. I think it's like an easy read, it's like a guilty pleasure for me. I don't think like this is a big literature, but I believe that there is a huge value in this source of books, and I like this one in particular. This Carrie Soto is imaginary tennis player. Like, she has the record for most wins in the world, and then she retired at an age of 34, something like that, 30 something, because of the injury and because she won everything. And after 8 years, there is one younger tennis player who won the same amount of slams that Carrie Soto, and Carrie Soto decided that she wants to be the greatest and she wants to return. This is a book about family because her coach is actually her dad, and there is a lot about daughter-father relationships. It's a book about love a little bit. There is a love story in here, but it's not the main part. It's a book about victory. It's a book about perseverance, about being famous, about being older, and what it do to our body and to our mind. I do think that's a great example of women's literature, and I really think that, I mean, yeah, this is a crowd pleaser, that's for sure, but it's a good type of crowd pleaser, you know, like this is a well thought through book with great female characters, with great relationships, with positive attitude. I do not like people like Carrie Soto. I do not like these people whose only thought is about winning, who are going above everything to be the first. But I have this, I don't know, it was interesting to read about. And I think the picture of her was good. I mean, it was well done. This novel was really well done. So 3.5, 4 stars. It was very boring for me to read about tennis. I am definitely not a sports person. I just do not understand why people are even interested in this and watching this, let aside playing this. But I mean any sport, not just tennis. I just don't understand the concept. But it was a good book somehow, though parts of it I just skipped because, you know, pages and pages about tennis match was a little bit much for me. But yeah, still highly recommend. This is a good historical fiction and you know, good easy read. So yeah, Carrie Soto is back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And the last book I want to talk about is again a strange one. It is a non-fiction. The Language of Butterflies by Wendy Williams. How thieves, hoarders, scientists and other obsessives unlocked the secrets of the world's favorite insect. This is a book about butterflies, about people who studied them through the history, about interesting facts of butterflies, about different types of butterflies, and how people understood something about them or through them about the world. There is a lot about monarchs in here. If you don't know, monarchs are butterflies who spend like one time of year in Mexico, and then they travel through generations of butterflies to California and to Oregon, and then it travels back. So they just like spend a lot of time on the road, and some generations of butterflies travel and other generations of butterflies stay in place. It's all very complicated, and this book is telling about people who are trying to understand these butterflies, scientists, entomologists, people who tries to track them around the world and everything in between. It was very interesting because actually I live near the places where these butterflies spend winter, and we went look at them, I think 3 times for now. It was unusual experience, half beautiful, half creepy, because maybe I'm a little bit afraid of insects, but this is a very good book. This is a book that has a lot of trivia, yes, but also has a plot, and the plot is like pushing you through it. This is a book it was very fun to listen as an audiobook, but also there are some pictures in here, so also there is fun things to look through. And actually this is a book I want to buy in my library, because I have a daughter who is very interested in scientific stuff, and I think this is a good book for teenagers, young adults who are interested in butterflies or just, you know, insects science, because it is good. The focus of it is butterflies, but it is told through the lens of people's, like, scientists' stories of people who of entomologists who were interested in butterflies and who understood something new or create something for butterflies, or you know, do something about butterflies. So it was not about only this tiny subject, it's about different human stories, but not personal stories, all with the focus on butterflies. I'd say this is a book about passion, this is a book about beauty, this is a book about complexity of nature and also fragility of nature. This is a great ecology book because it is talk a lot about the environment around butterflies and how it, like, we can see the change of environment through the change of butterflies' habits, or just, you know, change of butterflies in our environment. It was very good, very interesting, and I gave it 5 stars. This is so far my favorite non-fiction book in the last few years. So if you are in love of nature, if you like butterflies, if you like reading non-fiction about nature, this is definitely a book for you. If you are searching about the, you know, non-fiction book to read, I think this is worthwhile, because it is interesting, and also it has some plot, and also it's, you know, it's not that important as it is interesting. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, so this is 5 stars. So yeah, with Reading Slump I've read not a lot of books, but all of them were great, and I think it was a great reading month. I'm now in the March, and March is going beautifully. I am reading lots of wonderful books because of Middle Grade March and March Mystery Madness, mostly about March Mystery Madness. Middle Grade March so far was a miss for me, but still. Thank you for watching. Please tell me about books that you've read in February, and maybe tell me about your most favorite book you've read in February, and hope you'll have a wonderful cozy day. Bye!